And before I talk a little bit about him, let me say that in 30 years as a writer, writers are actually quite the opposite of activists like Comrade Chavan. Right? Activists like Comrade Chavan, and I would say his son Madhav, are about, their ego is virtually non-existent. They live for others. They work for others. The writer is me, I. The writer is the most egocentric person. So they're not normally courageous. But I'd still say there are 2 or 3 courageous things I've done in my life. Not of the order of Comrade Chavan or some of the others in this room. There are 2 or 3 courageous things I've done in my life. The most courageous thing is to write in the columns of a Kolkata newspaper that there was one other Indian, and he was not Bengali, who was as variously gifted as Rabindranath Tagore. And his name was Shivaram Karan. Shivaram Karan's autobiography is titled in English, 10 Faces of a Crazy Man. I read the book, and although I am not as mathematically gifted as Nandan, I could still count that actually there were 16 faces of this crazy man. He had 16 careers. He was the pioneer of the modern Kannada novel. He was the first person to open schools for orphan girls in Karnataka. He made some of the first films in Karnataka. He was a great pioneering environmentalist and so on and so forth. Of course, not all of his careers, like with Tagore, not all of his careers were equally good. I'm told Shivaram Karan's films are truly dreadful. Now, this was a man I went to meet in 1989. He was then leading a movement against a nuclear plant that was going to destroy some of the best tropical rainforests in the Western Ghats, the Kaiga nuclear plant. He was already in his 80s, and he was leading this struggle. And I went to interview him for a newspaper. And he was of the kind of Comrade Chavan's generation. You wrote him a letter, you got an answer immediately in a postcard. He gave me a time. I took a bus to Manipal, another bus to his village of Saligrama to meet him. And he was a very impressive man. He looked a little bit like Einstein, only better. That's because Indian clothes are, I think much more graceful than Western clothes. And that's why I can't wear them. Because I wouldn't know how to carry them. But Dr. Karan wore a crisp white vesti, dhoti, and a kurta, and a white moustache, and a white shocking hair like that. And we spoke in his house about his environmental views, and why he was leading this movement to save the Western Ghats, the tropical forest of the Western Ghats. In those days, I was working in Delhi. And I was working, as it happens, on the career of Parvankar Balu. So the week after I talked with Dr. Karan in coastal Karnataka about his environmentalist campaign, I was in Delhi looking at an old microfilm for the year 1936, trying to find out the scores of the Bombay Pentacular in 1936. And I saw a report which said, Yakshagana troupe for the first time in Bombay. Yakshagana is a dance drama of coastal Karnataka that Karan had helped revive. And the news report said that a party had come from coastal Karnataka, led by a certain Shivaram Karan, to perform Yakshagana for the first time for the public of Mumbai. And the year was 1936. I had met him in 1989. 53 years before I had met him, he was pioneering this art form called Yakshagana. Well, that was my first staggering experience of this man. 5 years passed and Karan's life continued and my life continued. And in 1994, an environmental group I was associated with won a major victory in the Supreme Court against the pollution of the Tungabhadra River. Now what Karan meant to Karnataka, I think only Tagore has meant to Bengal. And maybe it's a part of the poverty of Karnataka. In Maharashtra, you have many people to choose from. You have to go back, probably Shivaji is a hell of a long time ago. But in living memory, what Karan meant was something, so any time this is the early days of PIL, public interest litigation. Any time anyone from Karnataka filed a PIL in the Supreme Court, it was always filed by Dr. Shivaram Karan and others. Because you felt, that you'd get some credibility the court would hear. So this victory was won in the Supreme Court, the polluting plant was shut down, and the environmental group was holding a felicitation. And they asked me to come because I had been involved with them for some years. So I came from Delhi, took a train to Dharwad, and then we drove to the town of Rani Bennur, which is where the celebration was being held. And as we drove from, came near the town, there were these banners in Kannada and English which said, public meeting at such and such place to celebrate victory in Supreme Court and Dr. Karan's 90th birthday. Now we are here to celebrate Comrade Chavan's 90th birthday, which is why I'm ending with this story. So I attended the meeting, and Karan actually put on his ghungroos and danced for about 30 seconds for our entertainment. He also then spoke. And then we repaired to the PWD bungalow. This is the early years of liberalization. There were no 3-star hotels in Rani Bennur in those days. So our meal was in the inspection bungalow. And I happen to be a historian, which means I'm interested in specific dates. So while the others were eating, I went to talk to Dr. Karan's driver. Dr. Karan had a white ambassador to match his white vesti and his white kurta and his white angavastram and his white moustache and his white hair. He had a white ambassador. The driver was not very white, as I recall. I forget what he was wearing. It was not a uniform. It was some nonsense. So I went to talk to him and I said, when did the old man turn 90? I want to know it. I'm a historian. This is 1994. As we know, we happen to know because of mother that Comrade Chavan turns 90 tomorrow. But when I asked this driver, when did the great man turn 90? He said, sir, he's actually 93. He said, sir, for the last 3 years we have been going. In Tumkur it is Kannada Sahitya Sammelana and Dr. Karan's 90th birthday. In Mysore it is opening of girls' school and Dr. Karan's 90th birthday. In Karwar it is State Science Congress and Dr. Karan's 90th birthday. For 3 years we have just been going to celebrating Dr. Karan's 90th birthday. So dear friends, this is addressed not only to mother, this is addressed to all the friends in this room who have come here to honor Comrade Chavan. Let these celebrations continue for some time yet. Thank you very much.